Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gaming Lounge Podcast, episode 85. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and as always, I'm joined by Dory. How you doing, Dory?
Hi, I'm doing well. I have been playing Trails in the Sky first chapter, and been really enjoying that. So we'll probably talk about that next week when I get further in, because right now I'm only about like 9 hours in. But really been enjoying that. This is the year of me playing longer JRPGs as opposed to playing a whole bunch of games last year. I'm focusing on much longer, but I don't know, richer, more complete games. Just longer JRPGs, basically. But yeah, we have had a couple of long episodes, so Seb and I both thought it might be a good idea to just do a short one. We're just going to talk about Resident Evil this time. So we're going to talk about our favorite bosses, and then we're going to talk about, obviously, the showcase that just happened January 15th, so a couple days from today when we're recording, and just talk about what we thought and any reckless speculation we have about the plot. And yeah, and that'll really cover us for this episode.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, it's the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil, which is my favorite franchise, and it's one of Dory's favorite franchises.
Yep.
And obviously, we're both very excited for the release of Resident Evil Requiem, which comes out about a month from now. And it's good. And as we said in the first episode of this year, that it's our most anticipated game of for me at least the first half of the year, and for Dory probably the most anticipated game of the entire year. I guess the only thing that
Yeah.
would top it is if Kingdom Hearts 4 got like announced for this year, but it's highly
Yeah.
unlikely.
Highly
But
unlikely.
yeah, so we're both very excited for Requiem. It looks like it has potential to be one of the best Resident Evil games, if not the best one. It seems like it's a nice balance between Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 4 remake. They mix like the action and the horror, so I'm curious how they're going to pull that off. But we'll get into all that when we get to the showcase. So let's start with our favorite bosses from the series. Now, just to be clear, we did a retrospective like really early in the podcast, and we went through our favorite games and our favorite. I think it was our favorite characters and our favorite moments, but we didn't hit on the favorite bosses. And obviously we've come a long way since then as well. I mean, we got better audio quality and better video quality, and a completely different audience. So I wanted to hit on some more Resident Evil topic, as Dory said, and for a shorter episode. And so the bosses, Resident Evil has a ton of bosses. It's been around since '96. I'm an OG fan. I can't say I've been a fan since day one, since like I was 3 years old when it came out. But I did watch my dad play the first game when I was a baby, and I remember that. And I beat all of the games when I was like 8 years old. So I do technically, I am technically an OG fan if you include me just watching it on the original PlayStation
Yeah.
One.
I
But
don't I don't know if I'm an
yeah,
OG fan or not, but I did grow up playing RE 1, 2, and 3. I'm pretty sure I played all three as a kid. Now whether I beat them, I do not remember at all.
shoot, I beat
But
them
I
last
do
year.
strongly I I do strongly remember playing RE3 because Nemesis scared the hell out of me. And then I'm pretty sure I played RE1 and then played RE0 on
Yeah.
the game on a friend's GameCube when I was a kid. I think I played RE2 as well. But yeah, I don't think I beat any of them because I just felt way out of my depth. But I enjoyed them. I
Yeah.
remember especially 3. I remember really liking.
Yeah, if anyone knows me, I am a massive Resident Evil fan. I know the lore like at the back of my hand. I have a PhD in Resident Evil, and I have a huge history with it. I've beat almost every game many, many times. I'm not on the level of like Bach with Soup or something like that, who plays Resident Evil games like pretty much every day. But like I could easily like host a stream of Capcom and like talk about lore with the best of them. So my point is, I'm going to talk about all of my favorite bosses from this series, and I went through like every game that I can think of, like, and there's tons of them of bosses because this franchise is full of bosses, and I have a nice mix of OG ones and remake ones. So let's start with Dory's list. You put Lisa
Sure.
Trevor, which is in Resident Evil 1 remake.
Yeah.
Uh,
I put RE0. I always confuse
Yeah,
whether she's in RE1 or RE0.
yeah.
Um,
So
but
go
yeah,
ahead.
going from, I know it's 1 to 9 on my list, but I was trying to do it backwards, and my note app was giving me hell, so I just did it this way.
Yeah,
But anyway, the first one I'm going to talk about, not necessarily my favorite boss fight, is Lisa Trevor from the RE1 remake. Like I said, I did play that game on the GameCube. I remember being absolutely gobsmacked by how good it looked back then. Even now, it still looks good. And obviously, it's such an iconic fight. If I went back to play it now, I probably wouldn't enjoy it, but I got to put it there just for how iconic the fight is, and obviously the lore is tragic and really well done too about her, being abducted and experimented on, and all this other stuff, horrible stuff that happens, and
yeah,
then the fight, if you want to call it that, is really just running away from her because she's invincible. And then the fight with Chris ends with, of course, boulders, and then also her like jumping off a cliff into her mother's coffin or some shit. It's like the most fucked up like fight. I probably one of the most fucked up fights, if not the most fucked up fight in all
yeah,
of Resident Evil. It's just a totally messed up fight. I gotta respect it for the dedication to
yeah.
the to the narrative, if nothing else.
Yeah, just to be clear for people listening, this boss fight has four pillars around her mother's coffin, and you have to push them. You have to push the boulders off the cliff into like a deep chasm. I don't know who invented this chasm, but there's a chasm, and the pushing them all off opens the coffin of the mom, and then she sees her mother's body, and she basically jumps off the cliff into a chasm, and you assume that she dies. We know that she doesn't die because she appears in Umbrella Chronicles with Wesker, and Wesker is the one that kills her finally by dropping a chandelier on her, and then the mansion blows up on her. So we assume that she died that way. People were thinking she's going to show up again, in Requiem, and survive and all that, but no, I think she's canonically dead. But yeah, that's definitely one of the best additions to the remake. I think that was not in the original at all. And Lisa Trevor, she was the daughter of George Trevor, who's the guy who was the architect of the entire mansion, right? And he got used, and his wife and daughter got experimented on, and her body was used to create the G virus, which is in Resident Evil 2. And Nemesis's parasite was put on her to make the G virus. So the point is, Lisa Trevor is a major lore character. Actually, a lot of things that come from future games come from the experiment on her. So yeah, it's a really good boss fight for sure. I know I'm going on a big lore tirade here,
That's okay.
but yeah, I appreciate her character, and if they ever do a remake of the first game again, I hope they keep her in it because I think she's iconic to the first game. Now, I think as classic as the original Resident Evil 1 is, I think the remake is like it's kind of taken over for a lot of people, like the actual lore, and like when people think of Resident Evil 1, they think of the remake first, not the original. But
Right. Yeah,
still
I
still
would
classic.
probably think about that as well if for the aesthetic and graphics more than anything. Although if I did
Yeah,
think about the first original one, I would
yeah,
think about Jill Sandwich. But other than that,
yeah, which is also in the remake, kind of. Anyway,
yeah,
uh, my first boss fight is also in the Resident Evil 1 remake, and it's got to be the OG Tyrant, like the one that started it all. Now this is the remake one, but it's basically the same enemy. They didn't really change it.
yeah,
The coolest thing is like first of all, you're in an open section. You're on the helipad, and you're waiting for Brad to pick you up. And what I like about it is like one of the few boss fights where like all the Stars members team up and fight them together. Now, like obviously, there is no real canon ending in the in Resident Evil 1 because you're supposed to Rebecca, Chris, Jill, and Barry are all supposed to be fighting the tyrant together, and they don't show that in any of the real endings. But basically, what I'm saying is they all fight the tyrant, and I just think it's a cool fight. You dodge it, he runs full at you. You get to use all your weapons, your magnum. You get to cash in everything you've been saving up, and then obviously you get to blow him up with a rocket launcher at the end, and fly away. So I have to shout out this tyrant because he's like so iconic, and the OG tyrant, the OG final boss of Resident Evil series period. So that's why he's one of my favorite fights in the series. All
nice.
right, second one for you, Dory.
Yeah, second one. This is Uh, oh, let me fix that for a second. I got my ER enemies mixed up. I don't know why I did that. I have to put this fight. I feel like I'm like obligated. Like it's not the best fight in the world, and that's why it's here. My
Yeah.
second mentioned, or number 8, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But like, I do feel like the Resident Evil 5 boss fight with Wesker, specifically the one where you're at the volcano and you have to do all the QTEs and the boulders. It's so fucking funny and stupid and dumb, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the best boss fight in the world. I'm not. It can be frustrating. I remember my roommate and I back in the late 2010s replaying RE5 together, and we both had a hell of a time doing the QTs and getting to Wesker in time and shooting him and killing him. And you get, if you die, you get sent back. I think before the QTs or some shit. Like some of the checkpointing there is not good. But despite those frustrations, I do think this fight's so iconic. Obviously, it led to the huge memes of Chris punching a boulder, which I still can't say without laughing. And the finish is just amazing with Wesker dying, and then he comes back on the helicopter, and they throw him off into a erupting volcano and shoot him with a rocket launcher.
He falls into the lava, like the rocks under him fall in, and then he grabs on the rock. He grabs on the helicopter, and then Sheva and Chris shoot him with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, which is just fantastic.
And it I guess if you look at it, it looks like it decapitates his head. Although people think he ducks his head like a turtle and dodges it. But either way, he got blown up in the pit of lava. There's no way he survived, right? I mean, you never know. It's Resident Evil, though. I mean, we went from a
Yeah, it's Resident Evil. But so far, they haven't brought him back. I keep thinking they're going to bring him back any game now for nostalgia bait. But they so far they haven't. So I'm liking that.
It's been 17 years.
This is a cool fight. I do like one of the other RE5 fights that Seb mentions later down his list.
Yes. All right, the next one for me is the Nemesis fight. Now, I could have said the final Nemesis encounter in the original Resident Evil 3 because that's because the iconic line, like, you want stars, I'll give you stars, and then that's so good. But the one I really like in Resident Evil 3 OG is the Waste Plant fight where you fight Nemesis like second form in like a underground like sewer area where like there's acid tanks everywhere. And you have to like dodge his attack to spray acid on him. I just like the way he was like mutating, and it's one of the most challenging fights in the game. But it's a really cool fight. It's a cool mechanic. It's different from the rest of the game, and I always appreciate that. I do like some of the I do like the boss fights in the remake, but I definitely prefer the originals for the Resident Evil 3 one, obviously, because I have issues with the remake. But I still enjoy that game too. But yeah, the OG Nemesis fight in that Waste Plant is so good. So one of my favorite fights. All right, Dory.
All right, so some of these I really had to break down into like specific stages. So this one is Birkin 3 from Resident Evil 2 Remake. This is the one where I think it's towards the end of the game with Jill, I want to say. Or no, not Jill. Yeah, it's Jill. No, it's Claire.
Claire and Leon. Yeah.
And you get the minigun, you get to pop out all the eyes and stuff. I think Birkin 2 and 3, there might be a 4 actually.
Yeah, there's a 4.
I don't know. There is a 4.
One is the pipe. 2 is when he's like has a giant claw. The third one the third one is when he has the 4 arms. The 4 arms,
right?
And then
the 5th one is with the machine gun, right? Am I confusing the two?
The 5th one he's like a big blob. No.
Yeah.
The 5th one is like a dog, and is there a 6th one? And then the 6th one is a big blob. He has a lot of forms. Yeah.
If even Seb is getting confused, I feel justified in getting confused. But the one that I mean is the one where you get the minigun and you get to shoot out all of his eyes. I thought that was really fun.
Oh yeah,
I do like Burke. I do like the one before that too, though. When you're in the labs and you're fighting him in that arena. I think that's really fun too when he has all the eyes on his stomach, ? At that point, it gets kind of iffy about what he even has.
He has,
but yeah, I think those fights are fun.
He has 5 forms.
5 forms, okay. So I think it's the third one, you're
thinking of the 4th one. When he's like
I'm thinking about the 4th
because in the original he's like a dog enemy.
Yeah,
but in there. He still is a dog enemy with the machine gun part you're thinking of, but like because he runs on the walls and stuff, right?
Right. So like Nemesis does. In 3.
So that's the 4th one. So he's a dog.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I know what you're talking
But
about.
either way, I like both those fights, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with either of them being mentioned here. But they're really fun. I mean, the gore and viscera is really good. The obviously the graphics are incredible. The RE engine has been so good. Um, and I think in general they're intimidating but really fun fights.
Yes, absolutely. The only Birkin form I don't like is the last one because he's just a giant blob of meat. You kind of just stand there and
Yeah,
shoot him, and it ends.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Uh, Speaking of Resident Evil 2, one final boss I really like is Mr. X, his tyrant form. I always thought the remake one was disappointing.
Mhm.
If you look at the design of the original Mr. X's final form, it's so awesome. It's only in the B scenario, and it's the true canon uh section of the story that they completely left out of the remake. Which that was like the one blemish for me for the remake is they took out a major section. Like there's a scene where Leon and Ada kiss as she's dying, and that's because Mr. X slammed her into like a machine, and then the remake they just kept the part where she falls and it's like how did she survive a fall like that? They never explain it, right? But like in the original canon story, her actually dying in Leon's arms makes more sense. And then, oh yeah, she survived that somehow, but it makes more sense than her falling 1,000 feet into a chasm, right? Again, who
Right.
designed these chasms? Anyway, the fight's really cool. The soundtrack is awesome. It's iconic. He's a tough enemy. He dashes right at you, uh, and I like how it ends. It has Ada in the shadows throwing like a rocket launcher down to you. It's like, oh,
Awesome.
it's clearly Ada, and then yeah, Leon kills it, and that's how you get to the final boss. So I think it's one of the coolest boss fights and the coolest boss designs and the coolest soundtrack in the series. And I wish they kept that in the remake. But don't get me wrong, remake still was still amazing. But yeah, I wish they kept that in the remake. All right, Dory, what's your next boss fight?
Speaking of stuff that they didn't keep in the remakes, my next one is I call it Nemesis 2, but I just mean the one outside the clock tower in the plaza
One is a
when
dog.
Nemesis is
Yeah,
running around like a little like a dog again.
yeah,
Um, yeah, this one's really cool, really fun. I'm always amazed when I see the speedrunners do this. The shooting that you have to do here is really precise. It's not as frustrating as it is later in the game when you have to fight him in the chemical plant or whatever. I find that part kind of annoying, but this part I feel like is more accessible, and he like stops for a second so you can actually hit him, which is nice. But yeah, it's a really fun part. I don't have as many problems with Resident Evil 3 as other people do, although I do think the original asking price was too much, and I think the cut content is a shame. But for me, like, I think the reason why it doesn't bother me as much is because although I remember playing it as a kid, I also remember getting super frustrated with the game and dying constantly, and I think giving up eventually because Nemesis was just too hard for me. So maybe that just stayed in my memory, and I'm like, oh well, this is better than
yeah.
that.
I mean,
But
it's a good. It's a
obviously they cut a
Yeah.
lot of stuff out.
I mean, it's a good game. It's just disappointing. I think. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. I think people. I mean, I think the internet's very hyperbolic and oh, it's a garbage game. I don't think it's garbage. It's a good game. It's just not what it could have been, for sure.
Sure.
But that boss fight's awesome. I like the concept of like getting it was a grenade launcher. I forget what the name of
Right.
I forget the name of the ammo, but it was like a mine. You shoot at the wall while he's running around in circles and he gets hit. That was a really cool boss fight. I think the remake did a really good job with the boss fights for sure.
Yeah.
All right, the next boss for me is Alexia. Now Alexia is the main antagonist of Code Veronica. She turns into a giant like bug enemy and the her final boss theme is one of the greatest in the series. And actually, in fact, I would say her boss theme is the greatest in the whole series. Like it's so amazing. Code Veronica has the best soundtrack in the series, and I'm very excited to see how they do it in the remake. Uh, she's a cool. The concept of her is really cool. The soundtrack's amazing, and then they even throw in like a first person section where you have to she's flying around as like a dragonfly, and you have to shoot her down with the laser beam and with the laser gun. Um, That part's a little like annoying, but overall, I just thought it was a really cool. It's just a cool finale for Code Veronica with the epic music and everything like that. Like it really felt like a big finale, especially with her music playing and like the whole her whole cocoon coming down, and it's such a iconic scene. Yeah, there's like better boss fights in terms of mechanics and not as frustrating at times and things like that. And yeah, if you get the right ammo, you can largely just stand there and don't even move and just spam certain weapons against her and beat her easily. But it's still iconic to me, and that's why I put it on my list. All right,
Yeah.
next boss fight for you, Dory.
Next fight for me. So originally I was only gonna put one per game, but I realized I hadn't played enough Resident Evil games recently. Like I said, I played more than 9, but a lot of the originals I played obviously when I was a kid, and I never went back to them. So anyway, I put it number 5 for me, or whatever the case might be. Heisenberg, from Resident Evil 8. Now, for starters, I really like the Heisenberg character. I think he's really cool. I like the machine focus that you don't see in a lot of Resident Evil games. I think the factory maze sounded like it could have been really frustrating, but I actually had a pretty good time with it, which I didn't expect. And I think the fight is just pure popcorn. Like it's just really fun. It's not the most engaging. You have to press a lot of buttons. It's really just driving and shooting. But I think the concept of Heisenberg basically turning into a transformer is so cool, and the way it's done is really neat. The cinematic qualities of it, I think, is really fun. And unlike the Boulder stuff with way too many QTEs, this one I don't recall it having too many of those, and it's more approachable with better checkpointing and or at least better movement and controls than RE5 has. So that was nice.
Yeah, that fight was very Metal Gear, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. All right, next boss fight for me is the Mayday boss and Revelations, which, yeah, like you can argue the final boss of Revelations is tougher and I mean really tough. I mean, it's probably one of the hardest bosses in the whole series, and people would probably consider him the best boss fight in the game. But I have a soft spot for the Mayday boss because he's just so creepy, and his introduction is so freaking good. Like, because you can hear his voice in like speaking as a monster, and he's like banging on the door, constantly banging on the door, saying Mayday and things like that, and the game forces you to let him out in order to progress, and you have to shoot the lock off. And as soon as you shoot the lock off, this giant monster comes out with like half monster, half human body, and it's a tough boss fight too. And he has like a chainsaw on his arm and stuff. It's such a cool fight. It's very memorable because I feel like a lot of people found that fight really scary and put their 3DS down when that happened, or the PS4, and it's probably one of the most iconic scenes of that game for sure. I think a lot of people would mention that one in terms of being scary. It's the main reason it's on my list is just because the introduction is so smart. It's just a cool idea. Like he's banging on the door and you have to let him out in order to progress, and you're kind of forced to fight him. Dory, did you ever play Revelations?
No, I did not.
You know what I'm talking
I
about,
think
though.
I have no idea. I Revelations is one of the and Code
Yeah.
Veronica are those two of the games of Resident Evil that I just don't know a lot about. I mean, obviously you've talked about it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's pretty much it. So Dory, what is your next boss fight?
Next boss fight is Jack Baker in RE7. Specifically, this is the chainsaw fight. I just think the concept is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
It can be a little unwieldy at times, but also, I mean, you're using the chainsaws, so
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense that it wouldn't be super super like intuitive at first. But I think after maybe a death or two, you get
Yeah.
used to it.
He is.
I think it's
Yeah.
a really cool fight.
He has a giant. He has like a giant pair of scissors or plier or whatever it is. Giant
Oh
scissors.
yeah, I always think he's got a chainsaw too.
You
But he
have the
doesn't.
chainsaw. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the chainsaw, which is a cool throwback to the
Yeah.
chainsaw controller from Nintendo GameCube.
Yeah.
And Jack has like these huge fucking gardening shears
Yeah.
that are really cool. So I always get that confused. I always think it's a chainsaw
Yeah.
fight, but either way, it's still really cool. Like metal on metal. You don't usually get to wield chainsaws, although we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later. But yeah, this is a really cool fight.
It was a unique fight in the game because like the mechanics, you like he was chasing you and you have to like punch a bag to like stun him and then use your chainsaw to like on him, and like you get an achievement for like dodging his scissor attack, which if he hits you, you get decapitated. It's a cool boss fight for sure. All right, the next two we both have on our list, so we can just talk about it at the same time.
Sure.
So Mother Miranda, the final boss fight of Village, but also the DLC too, Shadow of Rose. So, I mean the original, Village. It's a really good fight. It's like a cage match. You're like in this. You're in this like small condensed area, and she's just throwing so much at you. She has all these different forms she's changing into. It's a really cool atmosphere. Ethan's talking a lot of shit to her. Uh, Ethan like Ethan's like a very stoic character. He doesn't react a lot in terms of like he's not like Leon shooting one liners at him. He's a regular guy, right? But he's very bold with her in confronting her. It's just a cool, really. I was a well done fight. The mechanics were really well done in that game.
Yeah, I found this a very tense fight.
Yeah,
It's probably one of my well, it is pretty much one of my favorites in Resident Evil. It kind of feels like, I don't know, maybe this sounds dumb, but it kind of feels like a Souls fight in a way, just because of like the creature design and how closed the arena is, like
yeah,
how tight the stuff is,
yeah.
the battlefield is. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say.
It's like a cage match, basically.
Yeah, like you said, it's just like a cage match. And some of her moves are really quick and really devastating too. I'm not saying they're gonna one shot you or anything, but
Yeah,
yeah, if there was ever like a Resident Evil fight that feels like a Souls fight, like or could happen in a Souls game, I think Mother Miranda's it because she feels like something out of Elden Ring or something.
yeah.
Yeah, this was really challenging. I think I died once or twice to her, which I hadn't to anybody else. I don't think.
Yeah.
And it was fun though. She put up a good challenge.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really well done final
I
boss.
remember.
And you really had to like learn her patterns and like
Yeah,
get down her moves and like make sure that you were reacting appropriately. So that felt like really good, really epic.
I remember watching you fight her at like 3 in the morning. Like you just powered through the ending. You wanted to really beat it at the end. And
Yeah,
it
I
was late at
forgot I
night.
did. I forgot we did that. That's right.
Yeah. All right. So the next boss fight, which you both have too, is Vertigo. For me, you have the remake. I have the OG, but it's basically the same thing, really. It's the same concept. I think Vertigo is one of the best, if not the best, boss in the Resident Evil 4 original and the remake. Or, well, it's debatable with the remake, but the original, it's just the concept is really cool. Because obviously Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time, but it's also like it's survival horror, of course, because it's like there's horror elements and like regenerators and chainsaw guy and there's tense moments and things like that. But it's mostly an action game, right? But Vertigo is like you're getting straight up chased by this stalker enemy. He's climbing on the ceiling. He's going full speed. He's the fastest enemy in the game. You have to constantly do quick time events. You're always getting hunted. When I first played that when I was like 12 years old, that one was definitely tense, right? Because like the concept of like you're waiting for the elevator to you, and either you fight it using the nitrogen and freezing it and blowing it up, or you wait for the elevator and just survive the best you can. Of course, as a veteran of Resident Evil 4 now, I always just freeze him and shoot him with a rocket launcher and kill him in one hit, which they kept in the remake as well. But yeah, the concept of it was so cool, and it's one of the best boss fights in Resident Evil 4, if not the best. Dory, why is this on your list for the remake?
Yeah, I mean, I could have picked either one. I just like the controls in the remake a little better, so I picked that one. But I mean, you could go either ways. Yeah, Verdugo is a really interesting, fun fight where there's a little bit of strategy. Obviously, you can just empty clips upon clips on him, but you can also just obviously use the nitrogen, like Seb said, which is the smarter thing to do. You can kick them around, which is cool because you don't get to do that to
Yeah,
a lot of enemies in the game, like Salazar and Sadler, both turn into monsters, so it's not like you can really kick them.
yeah. You can one shot him
So
though.
yeah, that's true. But you can also do that, especially if you got like an infinite rocket launcher
Any
or
rocket
a
launcher, yeah. You save up your money.
broken butterfly or something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is another like really cloistered fight with narrow hallways, and especially if you don't know the layout, like you're gonna die at least once or twice, even on standard. It's just a brutal, tough fight. Um, and yeah, it really stands out among all the other fights in Resident Evil.
We also both have the Krauser fight from Resident Evil 4 remake on this list, and I've one. I think the original Krauser fight is kind of not the best. Like I'm talking about like the actual fight when he's like a mutated arm and everything like that. It's not the greatest fight in the game. And even in the original, when you fight Krauser with the knife, because we're both talking about the one with the knife, correct? Or are we talking about the arm and everything?
I'm talking about the whole. Well, for Krauser, I'm talking about the whole fight. But I mean, I was largely talking about the first part of the fight
Yeah, the
up
knife
until
section is
yeah.
that was just the QTE section in the original. You can't even fight him like that. And then they changed it in the remake and made it like a whole boss fight where you parrying and dodging, and that's one of the best. The mechanics of that fight is so good. It's so much fun to fight him with the knife, and they definitely improved the Krauser fight in the second phase from the original. I think that was one of the weakest parts of the original game for me. What about you, Dory?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this fight on multiple levels. The reason why it's probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite, is that it's such a interactive fight with so many different phases, so many different parts. There's also a personal element to it too, of course, because Leon and Krauser used to know each other, and they have that history between each other, so it makes for more interesting banter.
Yeah.
Krauser's a human, so again, you're able to interact with him in ways that you can't. Obviously, becomes less and less human as the fight goes on, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
In the remake, you don't have that like feels like unnecessary timer where the whole island's what the area you're in is gonna explode randomly. And so like, and I've never felt particularly pressured by that time either. I think you can get away with minutes to spare.
In the original you're talking
Um,
about, or the
in the original, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I was saying there's not that part
Yeah.
in the remake.
Yeah.
So
But
that I feel like that's an upgrade too. It
yeah.
is tougher to use the knife only, and the knife in the original is pretty much broken. Like you can just stun lock them, but
Yeah.
in the new game you can't do that as much. I think you can still kill them with knife only, but it's a lot harder, especially on higher difficulties. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is such a great battle, and there are still QTs, but I feel like they're a lot less overblown than they were in the original. So, and it's Krauser. I mean, that's kind of the theme of him. So,
Yeah. And then close off our list. My final boss fight is Wesker and Jill fighting Sheva and Chris. I really like this fight because there's a lot of emotional depth to it. You got Jill being possessed or brainwashed. You know, she has the thing on her chest. It's brainwashing her, and it ties the whole emotional element of the story together, like the theme of partnership, and because Sheva and Chris have to work together to take it off Jill, and it's one of the most unique fights in the series because you can't just straight up kill Jill. Obviously, you have to shoot the you have to not get the thing off her chest, right? So if you shoot her too much, she dies, and you get game over. So it's definitely unique. And meanwhile, you have Wesker with all his Matrix moves, like
yeah,
throwing you across the room and chasing you down, and you can't really fight him at all. And it's such a well done fight. It gets of course it's like a little goofy, and she looks like Samus, Zero Suit Samus, and she's doing all these crazy tricks, and it gets a little over the top, but there's a lot of emotional depth to that fight, and the music really adds to that too. There's a lot of very emotional fight, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, all right, so that's our favorite or 9 favorite boss fights from the series. There's a lot more that we could talk about, but I think that's a list I'm pretty happy with. I feel like it didn't take me too long to write it, so I feel like yeah, those are probably my definitive boss fights overall in the
yeah.
series.
I did do a little bit of research here and there just to make sure like I was getting it down. And like I said originally, I was gonna just do one from each, but I didn't have enough boss fights for that, or enough games for that. But yeah, these are all great boss fights. Resident Evil is, of course, famous for its boss fights and for good reason. So
Right. All right, let's transition to our last topic of the night, which is the Resident Evil Showcase, which, as Dory said, we got on January 15th. It was like 5 p.m. It was like right after work, perfect timing. And we got about 13 minutes of a gameplay showcase, basically. They went through all the gameplay of Resident Evil 9, and they also gave us some snippets about the story and the different mechanics of the game. Starting with, of course, that, Leon is back, right? Leon is the action section of this game. They said that in the director, I think it was the director that they were interviewing, or whoever it is. They said he's, let's see. Yeah, the director.
I love what the director did it. Like the first thing he said was like, "Well, I never said Leon wouldn't be back.
Yeah.
In fact, I said we worked on a whole game with Leon and then scrapped it." So
Yeah, it was the worst kept secret. But the main thing
Yeah.
in this section is he said the Graces section is going to be like Resident Evil 2 remake and
Yep.
7, and Leon is going to be more like Resident Evil 4 remake, which made sense because what we saw was Grace's gameplay was very slow, methodical, and very horror based, and she's stealthing, and then Leon's doing straight up roundhouse kicks and QTE attacks and all these cool badass moves, full on action game. So did you like that contrast? How'd you feel about the gameplay?
I love it. I think 7 is a great game and 2 is as well. And I mean, having that gameplay of 4 and somewhat like 8 as well, I would add. I think that's just the perfect mix. I think what 8 was trying to do, I was thinking about this today while going through bosses and the sections of Resident Evil 8. 8 was trying to have like all of the different kinds of Resident Evil in one game. This one's like distilling it down to really 2 different types of horror game where it's like stealthy, a little bit of combat, but not the main focus, and then all combat, all cinema, all, action-packed stuff. And I like that. I like that contrast. If they mix it right, and I mean, according to them, right, it's like a 50-50 split or something close to a 50-50 split, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Then it's going to, as long as they pace that well and they give Leon enough time and Claire and not Claire, Grace enough time, I think it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely, I'm very excited about the mix of the 2 different genres because I prefer Resident Evil 4 remake kind of gameplay. Of course, like I prefer third person action gameplay. I'm still gonna play Grace in third person, but I like the concept of still being able to fight back. You know what I mean? Grace obviously not like Leon, but she can still fight. She has a gun and everything. I don't like horror games where like you have no ability to fight back and you have to just run or hide all the time. I don't
mind that in a little like
a little
small
bit
amount
snippets. Yeah.
But yeah, the amnesia stuff, for example, I can't deal with that.
Yeah. The Leon did have some stealth too. Like there's times where like enemies just standing there and Leon can like kill a zombie in one hit using like an axe and cutting their head off.
Which I think that happened in Resident Evil 4 remake a little bit. Like you could do that like in the village.
You could stealth them with the knife.
Right.
Obviously they improved upon Resident Evil 4 remakes mechanics, and Leon has more access to different weapons like an axe or a he's probably gonna have a knife too, right? And all different weapons. But one cool mechanic that they showed that's unique to this game is that the zombies are a different type of zombie and they can talk to an extent, and they're stuck doing chores and whatever they were doing when they were human.
It's horrible. Imagine you die, come back to life, and are still doing the same mundane, boring shit you were when you were alive. Horrible.
Yeah. And it's so you don't even have to fight some of them. You can just walk by them. But I'd imagine like there's probably a reward at times for take on the challenge. And we did get to see a butcher boss fight. I don't know if that's a real boss fight or just like a mini boss, but I thought that was a cool enemy. And then you had the doctor with the chainsaw, and then you got to see Leon use a chainsaw, which is awesome, of course, being a big Resident Evil 4 fan.
Yeah, of course. That was like one of the highlights for me. I hadn't seen any spoilers or anything, so when he picked up that chainsaw, I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. It shouldn't be an "oh my god" moment. It should be way more common, like talking about it, thinking about it. this should be way more common that you can pick up whatever the enemy's weapons are.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they just make that really tough in video games. But so I'm glad to see this.
But it wasn't just that. What made me lose my shit is, first of all, there's a sharpen mechanic, like it's Monster Hunter. That blew my mind. He like Leon just straight up sharpens the axe, and then there seems to be a parry mechanic because Leon straight up dodges the chainsaw and then shoots the guy in the back of the head with a magnum and blows his head off. Like that look, the way the animation was done, it looked like a parry mechanic, and that's amazing. And then Leon just straight up picks up the chainsaw and cuts the guy in half with a chainsaw. And then he shoots a zombie in the leg. She falls, her head falls head first into the wall, and then he does a really cool mechanic and cool animation and cuts the head off. So obviously in this game you shoot them in the legs to do the Resident Evil 4 animations. So it plays like Resident Evil 4. What do you think of all that, like the kill animations and the gore and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. The one that really stood out to me is every time Leon like pushed the like the doctors or nurses or whatever, the zombie nurses back into the wall and then crushed them with his foot. That was so cool. Just like smash their heads. Yeah, the animations look so good. The gore and viscera is incredible.
Yeah.
Even Kim, when she was watching me, was like, "Wow, this is bloody." I was like, "Yeah, it's great."
Yeah.
Because I'm a sicko. But yeah, it's just really it all looks very polished, very well done. This game could come out today, could be released today, and I would believe it. That's how polished it looks. It looks like also Leon's got like a hatchet, which is what they say as well. And so I don't know. Now he's got a hatchet instead of his classic combat knife, which I don't know how to feel about that, but
I've been saying axe, but yeah, like the hatchet. Like I wonder if he's gonna have different melee weapons besides just the hatchet. But
I would imagine, because you can pick up the chainsaw and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be definitely unique. Like pick up a hammer or something, or like you kill a boss.
Oh, he's gonna say hammer time. You just know it. Absolutely gonna say hammer time.
The second opinion line was amazing. Like that
was so good. I loved that. I was I think I rewinded like once or twice just to show Kim. I was like, look at this smart ass. Yeah, good shit. Basically a doctor in a with a chainsaw comes at Leon and he very casually says, "I'd like a second opinion."
Yeah. And then they shifted back to Grace's gameplay and they said her gameplay has more closed spaces. And it's more about sneaking around, and she's like walking through a dining room with zombies eating bodies and stuff, and then a zombie comes out, and she basically is running away, and she has a really special weapon, like a revolver, and it has like red bullets, and obviously it's like the symbol of the whole game, and everything ties into it, but it's a very special revolver that has very limited ammo, and it blows away the zombies very easily. It seems like it has like their weakness or something. Like it might be like a really special bullet that probably counters the virus.
Yeah,
I think Leon gives that to her. So when I'm gathering, the game's gonna start with Grace getting chased by the big hag monster, and Leon's gonna show up to help her, and he's probably gonna give her that gun, and then they'll probably split up somehow. Something will happen. But they focused on.
I'm wondering how they get split up, why they get split up, how they come back together. Like the pacing of the game is what interests me the most at this point.
Yeah. And they also did a unique crafting system where there's like an injector. So there's a body on the ground, and Grace can inject a dead body with like a little capsule, and she can use the ammo to make a special weapon, a special like ammo to basically blow up an enemy. Like a stealth enemy, like the zombie standing there, and she stabs it with an injector, and it explodes in a bunch of guts everywhere.
So that was pretty awesome, and she kind of quietly says to herself, "That was too effective."
Now, my big question for this game is, we know you can shift from first person to third, and we've seen that with Grace, but I want to see how Leon's gameplay plays in first person, right? Because if Leon's doing all these crazy tricks and roundhouse kicks, I want to see that in first. They haven't shown that yet.
Yeah, I wonder how that would work. That's a good point. I mean, for me, I am probably going to play Grace in first person and Leon in third, because that just feels right to me.
It seems like that's the way the game was designed, honestly.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because RE7 was first person and RE4 was third, of course. So
yeah,
that's how I'm planning on playing it. But I mean, obviously, it's great that they not only do they let you choose between first and third person in general, but between Leon and Claire, they can both have third, they could both have first. One could have first, one could have third. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I'm gonna play Grace and Leon's campaign in third only. I just preferred third, but
Yeah.
first person seems like is how it was designed for her. They also focused on different game modes. They had casual mode, they had standard modern, and standard classic. Now standard classic is for like like me, right?
Yeah.
Instead of autosaves, you have to save with the ink ribbon. Now, even though I'm an OG fan, I would rather just play modern and have an autosave because now I would do the classic gameplay like after beating it, doing when I do different playthroughs. I'm sure there's gonna be an achievement for doing that as well. So for me right now, I'm gonna play the game on standard modern, but I always appreciate different options for people. Uh, Casual should be fine for people, for most people, right?
Right.
But I'll be playing it on standard modern.
Yeah, I will as well. Now, Seb, I think what you're forgetting here and what you're burying the lead on is probably the most important part of this entire showcase. They did a collaboration with Porsche, and there's a
Well, not
really
there yet, but
expensive
yeah,
watch you can buy for $1,000 to
two
$2,000.
thousand
Isn't that
dollars.
so exciting?
You can buy it now, actually.
Yeah, you can buy it now while we're all fucking struggling under the weight of the economy. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that this part of the showcase, I was like, oh, I get it. It's paying the bills, and it wasn't that long. It was like a minute or two, but yeah, it really hurt the pacing of this show for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. Like you can only show so much, and they had to fill in the time. Uh, but like I'm like the watch I can get because like yeah, it's $2,000, very expensive. Most people are not gonna get that. But that's more affordable than a like over $100,000 car just for a video game. You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna go buy a Porsche because of Resident Evil
I
9?
also thought it was funny that they did a Resident Evil Apocalypse pre-order bonus costume for Grace. I'm like, who the fuck is gonna want to be reminded of Resident Evil Apocalypse? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know, not me.
I'm
But yeah,
like,
as per usual, Capcom kind of goes nuts with all the deluxe edition. Five costumes, four skins, two charms, a fucking partridge in a pear tree at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I never buy the deluxe editions. It just seems like a waste of time to me. You could put like I don't know, some family heirloom, and I still probably wouldn't buy it. Like it just seems silly to me. But
it's even especially like a waste of time when you play on PC and you just get the mods, any mod you want to play
right,
with. So like,
exactly.
why would I want a costume?
Yeah,
Then they showed off the RTX. I mean, this is more for me, I suppose, but this game looks gorgeous, and you gotta play with this. You gotta play with RTX on, of course. I mean, the RE engine is just incredible since it came out 9 years ago, and the RTX makes such a big difference with the. I mean, this game. The main thing they were showing is like the best way to show off ray tracing is always to have it raining and show the reflections of the rain. They always do that, right? Resident Evil 2 did that,
yeah,
and Resident Evil 3 kind of did that too. So the main thing is they focus on is that the RTX on you get massive frame rate jump with the artificial frames, the frame rate generation, and all that. And they show in like 160 frames, 254 frames, and all that. So the main thing is this game is very pretty.
yeah.
That's really the main draw from it.
And one thing they said about the Geoforce stuff that I liked is that they said that they were targeting computers of varying. I forget exactly what they said, but a capability. Basically, they're trying to make RE9 accessible to even lower laptops
Yeah.
or gaming
Plus,
PCs, which I think is great.
plus GeForce Now is streaming, so you're gonna be streaming off a 5080 computer if you pay for $20 a month. You can play the game full ray tracing in streaming if just for $20 a month, and it doesn't even matter how strong your computer is. You can do that off your iPad or off your Mac or anything like that. So, the streaming quality has come a long way. I think GeForce Now is actually really cool. And it's not like GeForce Now is not like Game Pass where like you get games with the service. It's more of like it comes off your own Steam games. So if you have a big Steam library and you want to stream your games, it's a cool concept. It is $20 a month, which is expensive, but if it only benefits a small amount of people, but if it does benefit you, I think it's actually a cool service. And I've used it for a couple months, and yeah, it's actually I think it's the best cloud service in the industry right now. I think it runs much better than xCloud does, personally. All right, and they also showed us statues. As you can see behind me and all around me, I enjoy video game statues and statues in general. And they have two statues of Leon and Grace that actually go together. If you do that,
That's cool.
I do have some issues with the face. It looks a little off. It looks a little too plasticky for me and expensive, very expensive. But I do like the Leon one for sure. I'm sure you don't have any comments about the statue, so
I don't. I barely looked at them. I do agree they look kind of plasticky.
yeah. And then they showed off the Resident Evil Requiem Switch 2 Pro controller. And that Switch 2 Pro controller is like one of the greatest controllers ever. That thing feels so nice to hold. Like it's so good. But this design on the controller does nothing for me. It's just like a newspaper.
It's very bland, very
Yeah.
basic.
Yeah. Then they showed Resident Evil 7 and Requiem on Switch 2. And then they said there's going to be a special concert for the 30th anniversary, and they're coming to North America. Please come to Florida. If they go to Florida, I might consider going. But they never do. They always go to like Chicago or New York or LA.
Yeah, it's like a big tour of the U.S. and they only go to like the huge cities. I mean,
Yeah.
the most you would probably get is like Miami or something.
It'd probably be like Orlando, I would assume.
Oh, Orlando. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that was whatever, I guess. But then they close with Elpis. What is Elpis? That was the final chapter of the showcase. It's like the big mystery of the game. They said it comes into play of why like Alyssa got murdered, which is Grace's mom, and it's all like confidential. If someone like covered it up, blocked all the writing, and it all ties together. So we're gonna figure out what the mystery is. Do you have any comments about the Elpis thing or?
No, I remember you made a comment about it relating it to some god or something that's in Resident Evil or a statue, or I can't remember. You said,
Elpis is in Greek mythology is the goddess of hope,
oh,
and
interesting.
she is like I believe she's like at the bottom of the Pandora's box.
Hmm.
She's in the like
Okay.
Pandora's box. So I don't feel like that's a coincidence.
No, it can't be. And I mean, who loves opening Pandora's box in Resident Evil? It'd be Umbrella. So I don't know.
Or any
Maybe it all
or any
ties
secret
together.
organization.
Or any secret organization, right? I know they've had more than just Umbrella, but Umbrella's the big one.
Yeah.
So, and then they teased in 4 remake that Umbrella was still around. Of course, because they do that in the original 4.
Well, there's a bunch
But
of
I don't know.
there's a bunch of organizations all competing, like because for 20 years Umbrella's been gone. I always had this issue with Resident Evil is that I always didn't like that they ended Umbrella off screen. And they were like in
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4, they're just like, oh, by the way, Umbrella's gone. And then Resident Evil just became like every game had like a new secret organization trying to get something or some virus or bioterrorism, and there's a new organization fighting bioterrorism almost every game, and it just got convoluted with too many organizations. Like they should have just kept Umbrella as like the big bad guy in the secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got Terror Save, and you got Blue Umbrella, and you got Umbrella, and you got BSAA, and it goes on and on. There's all these, and then there's Wesker's secret organization that they never really did anything with. Like we never really got to see them do anything. He started his own company on the side. And there was all this stuff that never went anywhere. It got very convoluted. So we'll see how this all ties in. The bad guy, I forget his name, but the glasses. I'm sure there's more to his character. They're kind of advertising him as like the main bad guy, but I don't think he's going to be. There's probably they did that with every game so far. Like Resident Evil 7, Jack was like the advertised villain, but Evelyn was really the main villain, right? And then the Village, Lady D was the main advertised villain, and then obviously the main villain was Miranda the whole time. So I imagine there's some secret villain we don't know yet in this game as well. That just makes sense to me. And
Yeah, I agree.
And then finally they showed really close, really fast. They showed like this another boss fight of this giant blob monster and crashing through like a door. It's like a giant baby looking thing. So going back to the
Yeah,
build.
yeah, it reminded me of the Resident Evil 8 baby.
Yeah. And that's how it closed. And so how did you feel about the showcase overall?
I liked it. It should have been. It feels weird about saying this about a 12-minute showcase. So I'm not going to say it wasted my time.
Yeah.
The first half is beautiful. I love it. It's gameplay, it's narrative, it's a little cheeky stuff about Leon. It's just good shit all around, and I loved it. The next 6 minutes are like stuff that could have been, to quote you, Seb, could have been an email. Not you specifically on this showcase, but on
Yeah.
previous stuff could have been an email. I didn't need to know. I definitely didn't need to know about Porsche or the watch. I didn't care about Nintendo Switch. I didn't care about the deluxe edition. I didn't care about the respectfully, I'm not going to go to any of those concerts. I didn't even go to fucking Kingdom Hearts concerts, right? So I'm sure as hell not going to go to Resident Evil, respectfully. It has great music, but I just don't, that's just not, doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah.
If I want to go to a concert, I want to be like up and moving around.
I
Like,
would
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be more willing to go those kind of things if I live in New York and I've like it's like not a 3,000 mile journey to get
Right,
there. Like
right.
it's right more down the street. But Florida, we get concerts, but not like that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Like if Expedition 33 did a concert, like I'd be super tempted to check it out, but at the same time, it'd probably sell out instantly and be incredibly pricey, right?
Yeah,
But even then, the statues I don't care about. I'm not saying it's whatever. Like to me, it just doesn't
it
matter.
wasn't for you the second half.
Just
Yeah,
it's just a really weak second half, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, one more thing, this Elpis thing that we're basically not going to explain at all, but it's important.
yeah,
So I mean, that's intriguing, and I'm glad that they said something about it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, overall it was pretty good, but I would have just cut out the last 6 minutes, or at least truncated it to like
yeah.
the deluxe edition, the statues. I don't know, I don't care about the amiibos. I already knew. I know that they got to promote their shit, but I already knew that Resident Evil 7 and 8 are coming to Nintendo Switch 2. I don't really care because I've already played them, and I would never play them on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, even if I'm sure the Switch 2 runs them beautifully, but I don't. Why would I play them on the Switch? To me, it just doesn't sound like a Switch game. So yeah, the first half was beautiful and I loved it, but the second half mostly felt like a waste of my time,
Yeah.
and just really kind of like what's the word I'm trying to look for? Basically, like just made them look kind of man, I can't think of the exact word, but basically greedy. Like, hey, we know that
Yeah.
you guys are like struggling to pay. Greedy's not the exact word, but you know what
It,
I'm
it's just
saying.
it's
Like, it
very
made them look
it's very corporate.
very corporate, very just silly. Like hey, we know people are struggling to pay for $70 games. What about a Porsche that you'll never be able to afford and a watch that you'll never buy? Like, I don't know. It just struck me as kind of tacky and kind of like
Yeah. That's just
like
advertising.
offensive in a way.
That's just
Yeah.
advertising for execs and their boards and things like that. Like
Yeah,
that's just paying the
it's just
bills.
silly.
It's like when
It's
Jeff
just silly.
Jeff does all those ads in his show. It's just paying the
No, for
bills.
sure. And we criticize those too. Those
Yeah,
those come off
I
as
agree though.
completely blind as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm so. But that aside, I'm so excited for RE9. Like we said earlier, it's one of my, if not my, most anticipated game of the year. It could be my game of the year. I don't know. I think Resident Evil 8 was in like my top 5 or something like that. So I'm so excited for this. This could be incredible.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. The first half of the showcase was awesome, and I'm just so excited for this game. I can't be any more excited for this game than I am. I could easily see this game being a game of the year contender for me. Of course, it could be like game of the year, right? It could straight up be game of the year. We'll see. With that said, the second half of the show was very corporate. Just does nothing for me. Why do I care about a car? Like, who's gonna buy that? Except for like really rich people. I can barely afford my car as it is, and I have a pretty nice new car. Never mind 100. My car is not even close to $150,000 Porsche. Like, who has money for that? I mean, a watch. Who's gonna spend over $2,000 on a watch? And if I'm gonna spend money on a watch. I already have a smartwatch. I'd rather just get another smartwatch that has apps and stuff. I don't want a basic watch. Who am I gonna flex on? Anyway, you have to be a serious Leon cosplayer to have his watch and his car.
Yeah.
So like, there's like somewhere in the world there's a cosplayer with like what bangs and Leon haircut, wears Leon's jacket, and is like, that shit is for me. Oh my god, I can't believe they did it. And is gonna spend like 200 grand for the full Leon outfit. But
Nuts.
Capcom needs to realize that's like, we're in an economy where we can barely afford to pay our bills, and you're asking people to pay $150,000 for a car.
Yeah.
Very out of touch.
Very out of touch.
Statue.
That's the word I was trying to look for, or
Yeah.
something similar to very out of touch.
Yeah,
Very
I understood.
blind and just.
And the statues were kind of like, it's plasticky, and the costumes didn't really do anything for me, especially since I don't buy deluxe editions anyway. So everything about it was just like, okay, whatever.
Somebody in the YouTube comments pointed out they should have done some sort of collab for the Leon jacket. I think that would have been much more affordable and much more interesting.
Still would have been way overpriced that I would never buy, but but definitely more affordable than a fucking $150,000 car.
A fucking Porsche, right? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh my god. Now they will do a Resident Evil showcase later on, and I imagine they're gonna get more into 30th anniversary stuff and all that. But I would kind of wish they did.
I would hope that they're going to do a demo, but at this point, I don't know because the game's almost a month away, so I'm not sure a demo's happening at this point. Which is fine, but I'd like a demo because everybody else got to play the goddamn demo.
Yeah. If it's not,
why don't you just port what they gave to everybody else at the showcase to us? I don't understand why not.
Maybe we'll get one like 2 weeks before, but like if it wasn't revealed from this, I don't think we'll get one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, we're both excited for it, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we'll be there day one, 100%.
Absolutely.
So I was happy overall. Capcom corporate stuff aside. And that concludes our show, actually. Any closing thoughts, Dory, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how soon Resident Evil 9 is. Even when they announced it first in the summer, I was like, wow, February, that doesn't feel that far away. It's right around the corner. I'm super pumped for it. I'm very interested to see where they take Leon and where they take Grace. I'm very nervous about what they're going to do to my boy with the title like Requiem.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. That man's got some graying hairs. He ain't long for this world. In the line of work that he does specifically, I
think Leon deserves a happy ending. Let him just retire in peace. Let him.
I agree.
Don't kill him off, please. He's my favorite character. And he's like a top 5 character for me in all of gaming. Never mind Resident Evil. He's my favorite character in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Let him retire.
I agree.
He's done so much. He's been thrown around. Yeah. He's been infected multiple times. I mean,
one thing I do want to point out is that they say that this takes place after the events of RE6, and I immediately recoiled. I'm like, don't say that. You don't need to say that. We don't need to say that. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, 6 is as bad as 6 is. It's definitely canon because
it is.
Chris is like a whole mad demeanor and depression comes from what happens at the end of 6, and then we haven't seen Leon in like 13 years technically. So. Right. Who knows what he's been doing for 13 years? Outside the movies, I guess. The movies are canon too. So like, he's still doing the same. He's still doing the same shit. So yeah. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. You all have a good night, and we're all excited and waiting for Resident Evil 9. See you guys. Take care. Bye.
Where's everybody going? Bingo.